Hello and welcome back to the Simplifiers podcast, where we take topics in business and in life and simplify them. Now, I know this is true about a few of our listeners. You guys are parents. You're juggling all the things, both in your office and doing the 9 to 5, which, let's be real, sometimes turns into 7 to 11. But then you're also doing the school runs. You're doing all the things at home as well. Well, that's all well and good. But what if you are a parent of a special needs child? All of a sudden, everything becomes amplified by 100. So let's dive into this and simplify it. My special guest today is Sinead Quinn. She's a wife and a mom of 3 kids and 2 dogs. Her eldest son has Down syndrome and speech apraxia. After years of intensive stress, including the diagnosis of her son, her daughter born at 28 weeks as a preemie, and losing her father and finally P&D, Sinead experienced burnout. This led her to going back to school and becoming a certified and passionate health and wellness coach, specifically specializing in mothers of children with disabilities. She started Grateful Wellness to support her community of special needs moms who juggle elevated levels of stress and poor health, and people who just want to feel stronger in their bodies, live a healthier whole life, and rediscover joy. So I'd like to welcome to the Simplifiers podcast, Sinead Quinn. Hey, Sinead.
Hi. It sounds so funny when you say it all.
It is, in fact, who you are. And you know what? It's so important to say out loud, like, what it is we do. Because you think, oh, well, I just do this, whatever, no big deal. But what you do is for a huge section of the population in the world. Quite a few people are parents of special needs kids.
Yeah, actually about 20% of us parents juggle life with kids with special needs.
It's incredible.
So, which it is, it really is. I'm always astounded because before I was a parent with a child with special needs, I don't think I ever really saw it.
Yeah.
And a lot of special needs is not visual. But my head was definitely way more in the sand than what it is being in the center of it.
So 20%, as in 1 in every 5 parents that you meet or see that walk past you on the street are potentially a parent of a special needs kid. So, okay, here's the thing, Sinead. Let's really dive into this because, the wellness industry out there is peddling green smoothies, clean eating, fancy, super expensive workout tights, and all the workout classes and apps that I could possibly ever need and want. But what is the deal? Why do you think the wellness industry makes things so darn complicated for us, especially for those who are special need parents?
I don't think it's intentional. I think if you look at social media, the majority, I guess, of the population when it really exploded weren't parents, I think. And I think that the health industry as well started with people that weren't as much parents. It's a generational thing, I think. For special needs parents, we have been too busy juggling life that there was nobody within the health and wellness industry that was really a special needs parent.
Yeah.
And nobody was stepping into that space. So as a special needs parent looking at it, so I always had an interest in health before I had my son.
Yeah.
And when I had him, life hit this crazy place and it all went out the window. But I do remember when I started researching for him. I was never really researching for me, even though I was quite sick at the time. But he was the more important person in my mind's eye and in my life at that point, that I wanted to help him. And I wasn't thinking about myself.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really what has happened as a whole. And I also believe to a point, postnatal depression was something that was a really dirty secret for so many generations. And really only in the last 10 years have women been coming out and talking about it. And I feel like this is the point, this is the tipping point for special needs parents as well. This is we're just starting to talk now about in the special needs world that, yeah, it's hard, you know, coming out from the back room, you know, like a lot of kids used to be generationally, like not that long ago, were institutionalized.
Right.
So I feel like, you know, we've addressed, women are becoming stronger within the world, speaking up, our voices are being louder, and step by step, there's just all the different areas are being addressed. And I feel like at the moment with social media and with the younger generation now becoming parents, that special needs parenting is starting to become a more spoken about topic, especially, you know, autism is really, I guess, on the rise. I don't know if it's the awareness or if it's a different podcast, but it's definitely becoming more spoken about. And so the focus about health and wellness for special needs parents is now also becoming more of a talking point.
Well, and I just want to go back to what you said earlier. I mean, with the wellness industry, I mean, you can look at any glossy magazine or, you know, things that are out on the bookshelves these days, and you don't really see yourself being reflected back. And I can imagine that that's a problem, especially if we're talking about, you know, 1 in 5 parents are parents of children with disabilities, and you're not seeing that reflected back. You don't see yourself there, so you don't feel like you belong. And I think it's also really interesting what you said earlier about, and I want to put a pin in the map of when you started to do your research, you were researching for his behalf, but not actually for your own wellness. And, you know, I mean, we've all been on airplanes. They say put the oxygen mask on you first rather than your loved ones and your child, you know, and there's something backwards there as well, it sounds.
Yeah, I think that's a motherly instinct for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, it's the protective mama bear in us.
Yep.
And it's not a bad thing. I mean, we have that natural born instinct for a reason, but there is a point where we have to acknowledge that we need to support ourselves to be able to support the kids. And it's that classic line of getting the oxygen mask for yourself first before you can help your children on the plane, you know, and it really, but we as mums don't hear that. Like we hear it and we don't listen.
Yeah.
And we also, there's a martyr syndrome within the special needs community of the parents, and where they do sacrifice, and guilt and shame if you focus on yourself. I mean, there's this whole self-care movement that's going through at the moment. I think that it's, you know, some of it is all too glamorized, and it makes people feel guilty, which, you know, it just doesn't have to be that complicated. And I think where you said before about not being reflected, I know when, like, as a special need parent, not being reflected in the media, in the health and wellness industry at all. And when I had gotten through healing a lot of my burnout, which was a cascade of problems that turned into autoimmune disease and so forth, I was forced to stop looking after my children and micromanaging, and I was forced to look after myself because I could not function.
Yeah.
And when I kept on, like, speaking to doctors or, you know, other health coaches or nutritionists, and they were like, well, you have to do this. Well, you have to do this. And I'm like, dude, I cannot do that in my life. And I'd walk out of these appointments and I'd just be like, they have no idea. And I remember getting off a call with one person, and I was mad. I was so angry, and I don't even 100% remember exactly what happened in that appointment that made me so mad. But I was like, you have no effing idea what my life is like. You can't relate to me. You don't understand me. You don't understand my life. And after a few days of, like, that mulling and me being mad, and I was just so angry.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. There are so many women in my position that feel the exact same way. And I was like, oh.
And this is where coming down the pipeline and doing the work that you're doing, I imagine, is incredible, because it's simplifying. How do I achieve wellness? How do I truly incorporate some of these new routines and disciplines and habits into my life when my life is a bit of a hot mess express. I mean, so that I really want us to go into that in a bit, but I actually want to, before we go there, I want to actually know some statistics, if you have them, of just really the declining health in parents of special needs kids. You mentioned postnatal depression. What else?
Yeah, well, after my fit of anger, I was like, somebody has to speak up about this. What are the statistics? And I was talking to another mum that has a son with autism, and she was like, oh, I found some research. And I was like, oh, share. So she started sharing some of the research she found, and then I started deep diving even further. And it's pretty shocking, and it's not spoken about. And there was research that was done in 2008, and I think this is one of the things that really makes me upset, is that the research was done in 2008, but nobody has been talking about it. And we're in, 2019?
Yep. And
it showed that if you're being a parent, mother specifically, of a child with special needs, you are 40% more likely to die of cancer. You are 150% more likely to die of cardiovascular disease, and 200% more likely to actually die of accidental death. So I researched as well what accidental death was, because I was like, huh?
Yeah.
And it's basically an accident. It's like driving off a cliff. You know, it's absent-minded, it's unexplained sort of accidents, which I personally put down to you're so focused on everything else that's going on in the world that you're not paying attention to your immediate environment. And I was just like, wow, that sucks. Like, that can't be my life, and that can't be the life of all the other mums that I now know.
Right.
And there's also statistics around the fact that as a special needs mum, we can at times feel the same levels of stress. So it was measured, the cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone, was measured in special needs parents to be that of a combat soldier. And it's like, what?
And you can't sustain that for, weeks on end. You at some point you will have a breakdown. Like it's just not sustainable. So PTSD, anxiety, postnatal depression, all of these things. Yeah.
And all of them.
Weight gain,
all of them. And they are the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah.
So it's, there is a problem within our community. It isn't really being spoken about. It needs to be addressed, and it doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah.
And I think, the level of overwhelm that can sometimes overtake your day, which is totally real, needs to be addressed and simple. So this is where I get really passionate about the fact that where you see the green smoothies of people in a bikini on a beach doing yoga, it's beautiful. But, for most parents, and like you said at the beginning, as a parent, full stop, life is hard to juggle.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the time as parents, you look at that and you're just like, ugh, well, maybe before, but not anymore.
Yeah.
But as you said, as a parent that has a child with special needs, and often childcare can be an issue, that's not achievable. Yeah. So then when I looked at my own life and where I had to start with everything, I was like, what are some simple tools that can make a change in our lives? And in what made a change in my life, what can make a change in other people's lives? And I've come up with some tools that we can talk about in a bit, but we know we're meant to. So there's the guilt, there's the overwhelm of trying to fit it into your day. And then you're like, once you get past that overwhelm, there's the logistics of it. So it's a 3-step process of even getting to that point of going, okay, I will do something for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I also want to point out that it's parenting when you're a parent of special needs kids also doesn't necessarily start on day one of giving birth to your child, because you get the diagnosis weeks, sometimes months beforehand, right? What point did you know you were going to have a child that had Down syndrome?
3 days after he was born.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parents that have kids with special needs actually don't even find out until maybe 6 months like after the baby's been born. Autism sometimes isn't diagnosed until they're 4 years old. So there are obvious like genetic disabilities that can be diagnosed during pregnancy.
Okay.
We had the genetic testing done for our son, but this was 11 years ago. It's not the genetic testing of now.
Yeah.
He didn't raise any red flags. So when he was born, it was a big surprise. It was a very, very big shock. But a lot of parents don't find out until, it can be 4 years of like them scratching their head thinking something's just not right, or ADD or ADHD. There's so many things that fall under the umbrella of special needs. So
right.
It can be anywhere from like that 20-week scan until they're like at school.
Yeah, and you're like, something is not connecting with this child, or this child's anger gets elevated so fast, and you're like, what is going on here? Yeah. I can certainly resonate and relate with that. I have 2 kids as well at the time of this recording, 9 and 10. And yeah, I mean, it's a wild ride, isn't it? So let's get to the point of what this episode's all about. It's really, truly how to thrive as a parent of a special needs child. Give us a couple of simple ways parents can start to take better care of themselves.
So I've got 2 big things. Well, I guess 3, but 2 particular. And the first is hydration. Everybody needs to address hydration. Yay. It is like we are a society of chronically dehydrated human beings. And if you think that our brain is up to like 70%, some say 75, some say 65, in between 65 and 75, water, then when we're not hydrated enough, our brain is not working at optimal range. And it is so simple and it's free to address. And I've done challenges within like my Facebook groups and things like that. And people are like, but I need to go to the bathroom like all the time. I'm like, that is normal.
Yes, that is a good thing. Yes.
Yeah.
You're flushing toxins.
You are fueling you're flushing out the toxins. You are fueling your brain to work.
Yeah.
And it's so easily overlooked. And when I was looking at where things have made a big impact in my life that were simple, and the key being simple, and that's how we connected, like the simplifiers, these simple tools. Hydration. I've got my bottle of water as well. We need to support our body, and the optimal amount of water should be drinking. So the average person is drinking well below the minimum threshold of what we should be drinking. So we should be drinking, say, there's a good measure, and the English listeners will get this. It's if you weigh 200 pounds, you should be drinking 100 ounces of water. So I don't know how that translates to kilos very well, but that's how I've worked it out with pounds. And a lot of water bottles are in ounces. So that's a simple way. That's your minimum per day. So if you're exercising, if it's really hot outside, you increase it. Front load it during the day. So like in the morning, get up, drink a full bottle of water.
Yeah. I like a glass of water next to my bedside. So when I wake up in the morning, it's the first thing. First, before coffee, before anything else, before food hits my mouth, it's the first thing. And yes, you're absolutely right. And front loading it to the beginning of your day, because then hopefully you're not, having to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Yeah.
Which, let's face it, as mums, we've already been there, done that, through pregnancy.
Yes.
But it's such a simple tool, hydration, and it really doesn't take a lot of brain power to put that into place in our day, but it will make significant changes within your brain fog, within your productivity, within your fatigue, within your hunger. I mean, literally just increasing your water intake can help you, it can support you with losing weight. And that in itself, it can support, it's just everything. It's such a huge, wonderful, easy, simple tool.
Yeah, and it's a gift you give yourself, right? So, I mean, if you don't have to overcomplicate this, you guys. So, if you're thinking, "Oh, I need to get the special perfect water bottle, whatever," which is fine. If you want to do that, go for it, but don't make that the excuse for not drinking a glass of water right now. If you're listening to this in a country that has clean, fresh drinking water coming out of your tap, you are already so lucky and so full of a gift right here at your home that is absolutely free. So just drink water. But if you do want to go the extra step, get a bottle that is BPA free, right?
Yep.
But don't make
I
that.
like stainless steel or glass bottles. Glass bottles are hard when you've got kids. I mean, I've broken more than my fair share of them, so I now go with stainless steel.
Yeah.
But yes, BPA free is a minimum. And if you do want to go further, there's like wonderful like filters that you can have on your taps, or you can have like a Berkey to filter your water. That's what we use in our house. But yeah, you don't need to go that fancy. You just need to drink tap water. Tap water is good in the majority of the world. Well, maybe not, but you know what I mean. Like you said before.
Well, and for those that are like, "Oh, I hate drinking water," I get it. I totally do. I mean, the things that I like to do, if you want to get all fancy, is throw some cucumber in there, throw a lemon in there, throw a bit of mint. I mean, if you have those things already, don't go to Whole Foods and go out and buy all the things. Like, just whatever's in your fridge right now will work absolutely fine. Yeah.
And like you said, like throw a bit of mint in there, or a drop of essential oils is another thing I recommend. Oh, the other thing I've suggested is just do it and make yourself do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we don't always do things that we like because it'll make us feel better. So, and your body ends up actually craving it because you are supporting your body. You will actually grow to love water. It's like I used to hate avocado. I hated avocado for 40 years, and I eat it now because I started eating it because I was like, oh, it's good for me.
Yeah.
Oh, I better eat it. And now I'm like, I love avocado.
Yeah. All right. Hydration. We've got it. So if you're listening to this right now, your Girl Scout honor, you're going to promise that you're going to fill up a big old glass of water and drink it today. If not for yourself, do it for Sinead and I, and know that you're doing the thing. What else? What else can we do that's simple?
Kids. And for your kids, because you are able to be a better person for your children whenever your brain works.
Yes.
So, the gift of giving to yourself is ricochet. It's like that ripple effect. Everybody around you is supported when you are supported, because you are a better mother, you are a better person, and you are able to support and advocate and do all of the things better. So the next thing, breathwork. I am such a huge fan of breathwork. It is simple. It is quick, it is free, and you can do it anywhere. And I love it so much that I'm like taking steps. I mean, we can use it in so many different ways, but I'm taking steps to like further educate myself to be able to take it to different levels.
Yeah.
But the basic level is just remembering and learning to take a deep breath into our diaphragm. So the science behind this is a lot of the time we are breathing as a general society into our chest area and into our shoulders. And we're walking around like shallow breathing with our shoulders up around our ears, and we're stressed out, and it's just all short, shallow breathing. But if we've forgotten how to breathe into our diaphragm. If we take our breath, and it takes a little bit of practice initially for some to remember how to breathe into our diaphragm area. And it's basically like breathing into your belly. And I call it like a Buddha belly. Like instead of sucking that belly in and like trying to look skinny or, confident or whatever it is, let it all hang out and take your breath down there. Well, just the science behind it is we have our vagus nerve, which goes down the back of our spine, and it's connected from the base of the brain, and it connects onto all of the organs. And when we breathe shallowly up into our chest cavity, it is stimulating the fight or flight response. So it's keeping us into that stress mode. But when we take the breath down and stimulate the vagus nerve and the whole nervous system in your body down into your stomach diaphragmic area, you are releasing the calm, what I like to call the calm the F down.
Mm-hmm.
And we just need to retrain our bodies to remember what it's like to not feel stress. Our bodies were not designed to be in fight or flight mode all the time.
Yeah.
Our bodies were designed for that to be an alert to danger and a response to danger. But in modern day society, with everything that's going on around us, our phones, our laptops, the kids, the TVs, the traffic, everything, our body is constantly sitting up in that space.
Yeah.
So by reminding our body just like a couple of times a day to go into the calming down space, we are actually retraining our brain and our entire being. And it has such a huge knock-on effect to everything throughout our body, like our hormones, our stress levels, everything, the way our brain actually operates. And it's a really simple tool. And we will go through a little exercise. It's really simple.
Yeah, let's do it. Lead us through a deep belly breathing kind of technique. You can also watch the video version of this podcast on our YouTube channel. Side note, everybody.
So what I want you to do is, you can do it standing or sitting, but if you're sitting down, make sure that your feet are both on the ground to start off with learning this process, and that you're sitting upright. So your back is straight and the crown of your head is towards the sky, and shoulders are rolled back. Just roll them back, and then breathe in through the nose for a count of 5. And we just hold it. But when you're breathing it in, visualize it going down into your stomach belly area instead of in your chest. So try and expand your abdomen. So we'll do it now, and then we'll hold it, and then we'll exhale for 5, and then we'll do it again for 5, inhaling through the nose, and then hold it, and then we'll exhale for 5.
Great.
And we'll just do that the 2 times, and I'll count us through. So in through the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and holding it in your diaphragmatic area. So like letting that down into your stomach, expanding, and then release. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then again in through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then again out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's it.
I can feel my heart rate is slowing down. I also find it mildly amusing that whenever I do deep breaths, and I haven't done them in a long time, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of dizzy from this. It's like you forget that you just haven't been breathing deeply in so long. You know, like when you're typing away at work, or you're driving, and commuting and listening to podcasts, you just don't think about your breath, right? It's not, unless somebody is guiding you through the process, you're not even conscious of it, which is why it's so shallow. Yeah.
Yeah. And, like if you think about, so for those of us that have given birth, they give you breath work to support the birth, the stress that your body is under.
Right.
And again, and it is deep breathing.
Yeah.
Lamaze breathing.
Yep.
It's about calming down your body and stimulating your parasympathetic nervous system to calm down.
Yeah.
So it's that this is all it is, and it is so beneficial. And one of my favorite doctors, Dr. Weil, Wiel, he has this wonderful video that takes you through his version. There are so many different versions of it. You can do a really simple, like what we just did just then, or you can research to do different versions of it, like breathe in for 6, hold for 4, exhale for 8. There's so many different versions. I often say to people, put an alarm in your phone for in the morning, at lunchtime, and in the evening for a month. And each day, and it takes less than 2 minutes. Like it can take less than a minute, but it literally will have an effect on your nervous system to calm down. And it's not instant. well, no, it is instant because, like you said, your heart rate, but in your entire day, you won't see necessarily an instant change. But if you look back over a month after doing it for a month, you will see the pattern of things just feeling a little bit easier. Just
Oh, I 100% agree. And, I'm by no means a doctor or a nutritionist over here, but I've seen it in my own life where I do focus more on my deep breathing or meditation and breath work. What I notice as the knock-on effect of that is better digestion. I mean, my physical body is not in a state of panic all the time. It is moving to a state of wellness, and my digestion is better, which in essence reduces bloating. It reduces unnecessary waste and weight on your body. So it's so interesting. And again, where the wellness industry might want to sell you on the idea that you need a magic pill and some really expensive workout tights and a green smoothie and this. What Sinead is simply saying to us, you guys, is hang on, what if it's simpler? What if it is breath work and hydration? Start there. And then build upon that as and what you need. Because we're all different too, right? Some things work for some people, other things work for others, but I'm willing to bet the breath and, drinking water pretty much works for all of us if we let it.
Yeah, exactly. It really does. And it's just, it just doesn't have to be complicated. It really doesn't. We have, especially as special needs mum, we have so much other complicated stuff going on in our lives. Let's just make a few things simpler for us.
Yeah.
And then, and like you said, build on it from there. Once that space is created in our brain, because we're hydrated, we've got less brain fog. And with the breath work, because our nervous system has calmed down and we're feeling less crazy, we can implement better things. We can get a healthier meal on the table. And like you were saying, there are so many knock-on effects for our nervous system calming down. And like you said, digestion, just sleep.
Yeah.
And what you'll find, especially with breath work, and this is one of the things that I really love about it, is that as a special needs mum in America, there can be, and in the UK, sitting in the doctor's office when you want to leap across the desk and hug them, it's you can just take a breath.
Yeah.
You can use that tool in a meeting or in a moment of really full on stress to go, okay, let's just regroup here.
Right.
Let's take this back a step. Let's get out of that crazy feeling. And you can use it anywhere. And the best thing is that people don't even have to know that you're using it.
Yes, it's just your secret weapon. So you talk about on your website, which is grateful-wellness.com, if anybody wants to go check her out online, you talk about a wellness makeover. How can parents or just people give themselves a wellness makeover? Where do we begin?
So the wellness makeover is working with myself, but if you wanted to do it without me,
where could they begin at least?
Starting with the hydration and starting with the breath work.
Okay.
And really, it is just setting 3, and I don't give people, when I'm working with people one-on-one, I don't give anyone more than 3 things to look at in life to create some shifts around for any more than 2 weeks, because you want to create these healthy patterns and these healthy habits within your day. And if you jump into these programs, or like you said, these the other health and wellness things, they often look about overhauling your entire diet, overhauling your entire life, creating a completely new routine in your day. All your meal, you're going to throw out all the gluten, all the dairy, all the grains. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So I often suggest take 3 things. Obviously, the first 2 things are hydration and breath work, and create small changes in your life or in your daily routine that are manageable, and implement them. And once they're implemented really well, then look at it and reassess it in 2 weeks and go, okay, this was really good. Water is now a really healthy habit that I have.
Yeah.
My breathwork is a really healthy habit that I now have. What's one other thing or two other things that I can now change? And just taking small steps creates big impact, because it's the tortoise that wins the race. And as special needs parents, we potentially have to be around a lot longer than what we're statistically told we will be. So if we can make a bigger impact on the end of our lives by implementing these smaller steps, you could look back in 6 months' time and be like, wow, literally my health has turned around. I feel so much better. But you're just making these little small steps. And every 2 weeks is where I like to look back. Okay, how did that work? Was I able to achieve those steps? How am I feeling? What can I implement next? And if you can't implement something else, like maybe those 2 or 3 things that you've implemented 2 weeks previous is as much as you can handle right now, that's fantastic.
And that's okay. Yeah. Well, and I think also...
Okay.
This is where I guess I really feel like the advice you're giving, it translates to all. I mean, not just parents of special needs kids. I mean, it truly is. If you are noticing you're crispy around the edges and feeling a bit frazzled, or your just brain doesn't function like it used to, and also you're juggling your work and your clients and all those things as well, I mean, maybe it's time to take a step back and reassess, well, where could I use a little bit of a wellness makeover? And could I put in a couple of notifications into my phone to change and remind me to hey, take a breath. Hey, take a drink of water. Yeah. And start from there and make assessments of where you can shift and refine. And it's little stuff. It is little stuff. Which leads me on to my next question. Because I feel like in these little changes that we make, we also need to remember to reach out to our family and friends and inner circle of people who can provide additional support. So what are your thoughts as a parent of a special needs kid? How can family and friends really, truly provide valuable support in also big ways, but teeny tiny ways, without pity and without feeling like you're being pushy? What would you suggest to those people listening?
Yeah, look, I have thought about this a lot, and I really wasn't sure what the answer was. But it can be just with support and encouragement around self-care.
Yeah.
So maybe do a hydration challenge with the special needs mum and just be like, okay, look, I saw this thing. It was really great. No pity, no shame, no sympathy. Personally, I don't like it when people are like, oh my God, you poor thing.
Yeah.
It really rubs me up the wrong way. But if someone was going to join me in a hydration challenge and support me in that, that would be a really awesome way. Obviously, also supporting with childcare, always a win. Always a win. But, just if you've got grandparents or if you are a grandparent or a sister or a brother of someone that does have kids with special needs, it's just give them an hour on a Saturday morning to go for a walk or something. Yeah. However, realistically, yes, be like, oh my God, I just heard this stuff about hydration. I heard this stuff about breathwork. Let's try it together. Let's support each other on this journey and let's see how it feels. And I think that is a really great way to start. And I think showing interest and understanding. In
understanding what the disability is, how it works, becoming more educated on it. So, Sinead, I've got a couple ideas, and I want you to tell me good idea, bad idea, rapid fire here, because I've been giving this some thought too. I mean, I have friends who have kids with special needs. I have friends who have type 1 diabetic children, all the things, right? So you tell me, good idea, bad idea. Here's what I came up with. What if I came to you, Sinead, and said, hey, your dog is amazing. Can I walk your dog every now and again and just steal your dog for a couple hours? Good idea?
Good idea.
Okay,
Great
brilliant.
idea.
Hey, Sinead, I am cooking up a big batch of chili, and do you guys want me to drop off a couple extra servings to you guys?
Great idea.
Okay. Hey, Sinead, you know what? I need to do meal prep anyways, so why don't we just do it at your house, and I'll do all the dishes and cleaning up. So I need to make this big batch of chili. Can we just come over to your place and do that?
Can you come and live on my street, please?
Right? I'm just thinking like out loud because these are things that we do normally, right? We do meal prep by ourselves in our little silos, right? What if we did them as a community? I mean, that's truly how people used to live, in community with each other,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I did read somewhere though, Sinead, that, and you tell me if this is true or not, that parents with special needs kids, by simply just saying to you, like, hey, let's meet up for a play date, let's go to the cafe down the street, blah, 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 may seem like something super easy for me to ask, but for you may require a lot of effort getting the child ready and prepped for this thing or any of the equipment that needs to come with it. It's a lot bigger than you think. You think you're being helpful there, but I don't think you are. Is that true?
It's so true. And that's what I meant previously, but you're explaining it so much better with having an understanding of the disability and what it is that is involved within your friend or your relative's day-to-day life.
Right.
So a lot of kids with autism or with Down syndrome are runners. So to be in an outdoor environment is scary.
Yeah.
And by runners, I mean that they run off. Like they will just dart off. My son, thank God, he doesn't do it anymore, touch wood. But he has run into traffic before when he was little. He was 2. He thought it was hilarious that he could run, and he just like darted off just like a toddler. So I guess if you're also a parent, sometimes it's like, how much effort was it for you to get your toddler out the door? And that for me sometimes is because my son has a sort of responsive cognition of like a toddler's age sometimes. And sometimes it's like, come on, let's get your shoes on. And for me, like I can ask him to put his shoes on, whether he does it. I might have to ask him a million zillion times. But some parents have to also still put their kids' shoes on, so everything does take longer. It is more effort. There is a big isolation within the special needs community because of this, because a lot of the time you just start removing yourself from social events, removing yourself from social settings because it's too hard.
Yeah.
So whereas if you do the examples that you just gave before, that's more supportive. Popping over to them, helping with meal prepping, taking their dog for a walk. It's all those things that just make life a little bit easier. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that if these are people that are already in your inner circle, they're your family, your friends, they're your peeps, right? There's no shame being the other person saying, hey, like, I love you and I want to love on you and your family more. So, I've got some crazy ideas. You tell me no if it doesn't work for you. But, be courageous and bold to ask. Because I also have a hunch that parents of special needs kids don't actually know sometimes what they want or need. That it's hard for them to like vocalize what kind of help to ask for because they're so used to doing it all themselves. So
and I think that's often a problem for women in general.
Yes.
You're just like, no, I'll fix it.
I'll figure it out.
I'll fix it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. It's all good. I can do this. Yeah. And especially like, entrepreneurials, us entrepreneurs that are starting our own businesses or trying to make things work. We're like, I know, we'll fix it. I'll make this happen. Yeah. So you're taking on all this stuff and you're too scared to ask for help. And I'd say, another thing as a special needs parent, don't be scared to ask for help.
Yeah.
So that's when I said at the beginning, I've got 2 main things that I like to really focus on, being breathwork and hydration. The other thing is ask for help, like learn to ask for help, reach out within your community, because we don't have to do it all. Mm-hmm. We don't have to do it all ourselves.
Yeah.
There are people that love us and there are people that will help us. And you know what? We're going to get no occasionally. Someone's going to say, no, I don't want to. You're just asking the wrong person, but you will find people that are willing to support you and will help you and will, join you on your journey. And I think that's really important. Because, like I said, we don't have to do it all by ourselves.
Yeah. So if you're intrigued by Sinead and everything that she's talking about today, I highly recommend checking out her website, grateful-wellness.com. And she's also working on a 7-day online wellness course, which will be released later this month. So I highly recommend just checking into that because, sometimes an online course is exactly the thing that just sort of shifts your brain into a different drive. And it's super easy to dip in, dip out, and get what you need. Last but not least, she's also got a weekend retreat in the works for special needs moms in particular, happening in March 2020. So you make sure to go to her website for more details on that. So Sinead, I have a few questions for you before we wrap up, and that I'd love to ask you, that I ask all of our guests. First and foremost, what is one book or blog that you're reading these days that you feel is either inspiring you or poking holes and challenging your belief system a bit?
I know you asked guests this question, and I was trying to think of a way of explaining the sort of person I am without using profanities.
Okay.
And I'm a hoarder with books. Like, I have books all over my house.
Okay.
In every room of the house, I see a book that inspires me and I buy it, and sometimes I don't get all the way through it. However, and I listen to audiobooks now when I'm driving. I'm like, yeah. But I would say one book, I could probably narrow it down more to like one author. It would be Brené Brown at the moment.
Yeah.
Between her Netflix special and Daring Greatly, is it? No, it's one of those books. I've been listening to it recently a lot. And it's about vulnerability. And I think, in business, vulnerability, I mean, everybody's talking about being your authentic self and all of those sorts of things. I love the way that she talks about it, though. I think Dare to Lead, that's what it is, Dare to Lead. The way she talks about it, it's just, I don't know, it really gets me. And it does challenge me at times. I'm like, oh, damn, I really didn't like what she said, but it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge Brené Brown fan.
Excellent. We'll put a link in the show notes for that book. She does have Dare to Lead and Daring Greatly, but Dare to Lead's the most recent one. Excellent book.
Yeah.
So tell us, who is one person in your network, somebody that you know personally, that you just feel is up to brilliant things out in the world, that we could shine a spotlight on them, and who knows, maybe one day we will invite them onto the podcast?
Yeah, so I knew that this was a question that you asked, and I was really struggling with it, but I was like, oh my God, there is a girlfriend of mine, and her name's Misty. I can't pronounce her last name, but she has this amazing brand, and it's called For Purpose Kids. And it is about educating kids around kindness and the environment. And she sends out these little box kits that really has them like interactively, like coloring it. We've got the cutest little T-shirts that say "Be kind," and it comes with like a little coloring in kit, and it talks about kindness to the environment, kindness to animals, kindness to other people. It's all about inclusion, and it's not for profit.
Love it. Well, we will definitely put a link in the show notes for everybody if you guys want to check this out. It sounds amazing. So good. So again, Sinead's online at grateful-wellness.com. Do you hang out online on social media anywhere in particular?
I'm on Instagram a lot, and I'm also on Facebook. So I've got my Facebook group, which is Grateful Wellness for Special Needs Mums. And that's a private group for special needs mums where I post about little healthy tips here and there. Mm-hmm. And then Instagram is Sinead Quinn Official.
Perfect. Well, we'll put those links in the show notes for people as well. You can always go to those at thesimplifierspodcast.com and click through to get connected to Sinead immediately. So my last question for you today is this. And Sinead, again, thanks so much for being here and making time with us today, because this is not easy stuff to talk about, and especially, coming on and saying like, hey, this is our family. This is what life looks like. And sometimes it does look like a hot mess, but I'm working through it. And you're helping other women around the world work through it bit by bit. So I really want to acknowledge you for the work that you're doing. So my last question for you today is this. Someone somewhere is listening to this episode right now, and maybe she is a parent of a special needs kid, and she's going like, girl, everything she's saying is exactly right. Like, when do I have time to shower, much less drink another glass of water? I get it. What is one thing that you could whisper into her ear right now just to encourage her in this moment?
I had to take a breath there for a minute because it's making me cry. But you're worth it.
Yeah, 100%. So take that drink of water, girl. You're worth it. You're worth it.
Yeah. You're worth it. You're worthy. You're worth it. And yeah, that's really it. That you are worthy of the love, the care, the happiness, the joy. You are worthy of a healthy, happy life.
Yeah, and you can do it. Sinead, thank you so much for your time today.
You are welcome. Thank you so much.